Hello everybody, this is Stocker Finance. I'm your host David Troyer, and let's just get into it. So today we're going to be talking about why I think Tesla will be a $1 trillion company. Before we jump into it, let's go ahead and look at the numbers currently. So currently its market cap is $58.7 billion. So we've got a long ways to go to get to a $1 trillion market cap. Now, its deliveries for quarter three were just under 100,000 cars. Its quarter three revenue from auto alone was about $5,350 million, whereas its energy was about $402 million, and then a little bit from service as well. So as you can tell, their numbers are pretty decent here, and they're on the come up. If you saw the last quarter results, they're obviously doing very well, and they're profitable, and we're going to see how they do in future quarters. But anyways, back to the point here. Let's go back to an overview and just give a little overview of Tesla and what they're offering right now. So right now, there's two sectors to Tesla. There's Tesla Energy, and there's Tesla Motors. In Tesla Motors, we have the Model S, X, and 3, which are currently out. Then coming soon, we have the Model Y, expected in about summer 2020, and then we have the Tesla Semi, the Tesla Truck, the Tesla Roadster, and yeah, that's all the ones that are coming out there. So we've got a pretty huge lineup. We've already got three main cars out. We've got the the mass production Model 3, we've got the fancy Model S, and we've got another large fancy car, the Model X. That's just a very brief summary, obviously, of those vehicles. The Model Y is going to be the more affordable SUV that's coming out, and as you know, the SUV set market is pretty massive, especially in the US, and especially in China as well. So then we have the Tesla Semi, which is going to be more for industrial uses, companies. We already have a large list of companies that have already pre-ordered this truck. And then we have the Tesla Truck, which is supposed to be more cyberpunk aimed, very futuristic. I think it's going to be a more niche market truck, but it's really going to have a lot of hype behind it, and the market for trucks in the US is massive. So it's great that we're breaking into that sector there. And then we have the Tesla Roadster 2020, more of just a show-off vehicle to kind of show that, hey, look, electric vehicles can outperform any other car. It's supposed to be the fastest car ever made with a 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. On top of that, it's supposed to go even faster when you have like these air rocket thrusters on the Founders Edition. I'm not too sure about what's going on there, but you can check out my Tesla Roadster versus the Porsche Taycan video, and you'll get a whole list of the details about the Tesla Roadster there. So then we have Tesla Energy. Tesla Energy has the solar roof. It has the solar rental on its new website that just came out. It does a lot of industrial solar as well, and it's improving tech, and it's growing substantially. And Elon said it's going to keep growing, perhaps even faster than the automotive section. But we'll talk about that in a bit. So now let's talk about the numbers and why I believe Tesla will be a $1 trillion company. So it all is based off a quote that Elon brought up in the last earnings call, the quarter three earnings call. He said he wanted to replace 1% of the global fleet per year, or about 2 million cars a year, is the overall goal that he wants Tesla to achieve. So 2 million cars a year, that's pretty incredible. Right now, as I said, we're about just under 100,000 cars in quarter three. Let's say we did this every single quarter, that's only 400,000 cars a year. And that's what we're about at right now. So obviously we've got a long ways to go to 2 million cars a year. But let's say we're delivering 2 million cars a year. What will that look like in terms of revenue? Well, here's how I'm going to do that, since obviously the margins are going to change a lot, so these numbers are going to be very rough. But this is how I'm kind of going to do the math here, since it's really tricky to do it if you split up all the profits and margins per car. So I'm going to do it in a very general way here. So what I did is I took the 2 million goal that he had, I divided it about 100,000 cars that we currently sold, which equals 20, and then I did 20 times the revenue, which was $5,353 million, so a little over $5 billion there, and I multiplied that by 20, and I got $107.06 billion in revenue. And that's if you're selling 2 million cars. Now, obviously, the margin's going to improve. We're going to have the Model Y coming out, the truck, the Semi, all the cars that I was talking about previously. So these numbers are very rough. But with the current lineup and with the current, I guess, revenue that they're doing, if we just scaled that up to 2 million, it'd look about $107.06 billion in revenue. So obviously, we'd probably be more like 200 billion because margins improve, we're getting more efficient, all the new cars coming out. We're not counting the China market that's coming very soon with the new China Gigafactory. Europe is kind of just touching a little bit. I haven't done too much in Europe. And there's also going to be eventually another Gigafactory in Europe. I know they're planning on that. And so more cars means more services as well, which means that's more profit for the company there. So 200 billion is honestly not that, I guess it's not that, hypothetical of a number when you're doing 2 million cars a year. So let's say we're doing 200 billion in revenue with just the automotive sector of Tesla. So there's Tesla Motors. And so if we look at the energy sector here, it's currently about 8% of the total revenue. And basically, how I'm going to do this is kind of a tricky way to calculate this exactly, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say that, let's say it doesn't grow that much in terms of the ratio from energy to, to the automotive sector, so it remains around 8 to 10%. And if we just multiply that by the 200 billion in revenue, that equals about 16 billion in revenue for the energy sector. So obviously it's a very rough estimate because there's no real way to know where it will be exactly, years from now or where it will end up. But let's say the energy sector is doing about 16 billion, which means overall we're doing about 216 billion in revenue. So some other notes to add to this, which could add to the revenue, which could add to the value of the company, the technology they have, etc. The massive charging network that they're growing. This is going to be a huge competitive advantage. I think it's going to generate actually more revenue for them eventually. And it's since they're going to be owning that real estate as well, and some of that real estate, and it could just add a ton of value to the company compared to other companies as well, since no other company has this type of charging network yet at all. Next up, they're leading in self-driving, which is going to be insanely valuable in the future. Since I think in the future, if an automotive company isn't selling a car with self-driving, it's going to be practically useless to most consumers, since all the consumers are going to be like, why would I not get a car with full self-driving? Why would I not get that? If you don't provide that, then consumers aren't going to want your car if other cars do have that ability. It's a no-brainer there. So they're leading in self-driving, which is supposed to go into early access this year, potentially. Obviously, it's an Elon time, so we'll see what happens there. The Gigafactory in China, as I said, one in Europe, potentially, and it's going to be probably more after that. The million-mile battery technology, as well as partnering with max cell technology, so the batteries are going to improve even more, which is just a super valuable asset alone. They have pretty much no competition. Tesla's the gold standard in EV right now. They've spent no money on marketing or advertising, so if they start spending money, if they start, becoming even more profitable, which I think they will in the future, and they take part of that and spend it on advertising, they're going to make even more money from that, since more people are going to become aware. Or at least if they don't spend it on trying to sell the car, they're going to try to put that money towards making informational videos, informational, things to inform people that EVs are actually good, and they're not going to, catch on fire or explode like the media claims them to be. Anyways, so obviously, no marketing or advertising spending right now. It's inevitable for the change from EVs, for the change from combustion engines to EVs. It's going to happen eventually. It has to. There's only so much, there's a finite supply of oil in the world. So eventually we have to switch to something else. And EVs, electric vehicles, is the best way to do that. Obviously, there's hydrogen as well, but electric vehicles are already so far ahead. There's already so much progress made there. The battery technology is only getting better. There's no reason not to go all in on EVs at this point. All right, on top of that, with the Solar Roof V3, the glass roof that just came out, that's going to be massive, I think. It might not take off initially here, but I think eventually consumers are going to realize that it's a no-brainer. As Elon said in the call, it's pretty much printing money for you. And right when you put it on your home, you're instantly saving money for your electricity bill. If the power goes out, and, there's been a lot of blackouts lately, if the power goes out, your home can still function perfectly fine, and it can be completely independent from the power grid. So there's no reason not to get the solar roof, or at least some sort of solar on your house at this point, and especially coming into the future, that I know the energy sector of Tesla is going to grow because of this, and I think the solar roof is going to add to that as well. So there's plenty more to add there, and these are just all the reasons, and there's many more reasons for why Tesla will be a $1 trillion company. Obviously, the math was a little rough there, and there's only so much you can do since we're just speculating on the future at this point. But if we do look at, selling 2 million cars a year, which could attribute to 200 or more $1 billion in revenue, and then we look at the energy sector, which is going to be growing immensely in the future, and if it's currently doing 8% of the total revenue, then of 200 billion, that's 16 billion. So now we're looking at 216 billion in revenue, potentially more when you count in services, when you count in all the other vehicles, all the other technology. That's putting us around the same level of revenue that that Apple is doing. And so that's almost double what Microsoft is doing, and Microsoft's $1 trillion company. It's about the same as what Apple's doing, and Apple is $1 trillion company. So comparing, this revenue to those companies' revenue, and if the profit's the same as well, there's no reason Tesla will not be $1 trillion company in the future. These are my reasonings. You can take it all with a grain of salt, because as I said, it is very speculative. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it just kind of got your mind thinking, racing a little bit. If you want to do some more deeper calculations on this, want to throw some better math at me, go ahead and drop a comment below. I'd love to see what you guys have to come up with, what you think Tesla will be in the future. Do you think Tesla's going to fail for some reason? Do you think it's going to take off? What do you think? I want to know. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.